What would other Plants vs. Zombies 2 look like in PVZ original form? In this video, I will show you the transformation of other plants to PVZ Artstyle, and I will honestly rate it from 1 to 10. Let's start with our first plant, Fire Peashooter. I will be using a peashooter, Torchwood, Fire Peashooter for reference to make the proportion and color right. For the body, I outlined a peashooter, and I also used a circular ruler for accurate proportions, especially his eyes and mouth. Then, I proceed to carefully outlining the rest of his body. After that, I removed the little plant on its head, then proceed to color his whole body using red as a base. To add depth for its head, I used a darker red and added that as a shadow. I rendered it so it would look smooth and blends well with the skin. For the highlight on top of him, I used yellow, since it would look good for his fire look. After that, I proceed to add more yellow highlights to make its head look like a fire. You can also see that this highlights is a gradient color from yellow to orange. For the mouth, I used yellow as the reflective lights and add that. Since he was a fire, inside him will also be fire, so I used yellow for the inside of his mouth and eyes. I used orange for the mouth as the shadow, then added a pupils for the eyes using white. I also added a shadow outside its mouth. Then, I started to add the details for the lower body. I draw the shadow for its stem, then proceeded to its leaves. We can't forget the flame look on its head, so I started to draw. Then, as I add more, I also changed some of the flame into orange, so it would look like a realistic flame. Then for the lighter flame, I used a lighter yellow. I adjust the drawing for the flame, so I can match the flame look of Torchwood. After that, I draw the white effects for the flame, and also added the glow in the middle. Back to the face, I changed the eyes outline into yellow, then added some shadow around to emphasize the depth of eyes. And there you have it, our first plant Fire P. You can clearly see the difference between the two Fire P. Firstly, the color and shadings of Fire P is much more flatter and darker, giving it a kind of flat look compared to the realism of PVZ2 Fire P. In addition, the Fire P we made has a bulkier body with a darker outline, which really fits the PVZ1's art style. Also, the details for the flame are much more realistic rather than PVZ2 Fire P, since PVZ2 has a softer flame. Overall, I rate it 10 out of 10. The animation, color, and especially the art style really fits the PVZ1's concept, because it doesn't have the glossy vibe and flatter colors. For our second plant is Snapdragon. I used Snapdragon for the body of my plant, then I sketched some of his features and adjusted the other parts, like the stem. Then, I used Chomper's leaves and added that to my drawing. I adjust the stem, making it longer and bigger, like the stem of Chomper. After that sketch, I carefully outline the details, starting from its stem up to its head. I made sure to include the small details, like the curves on its head. I used Snapdragon for my color reference. I changed the leaves color into a brown, and also added a brown base for the leaves near its head. Then, added the shadow by darkening the tip and bottom. To emphasize the shadow, I draw the highlights around it, and also the reflective lights. I also used that reflective lights to add the texture of leaves. Moving on, I proceed to color the face using green, except for the lower part. I also used the same green for the stem. To finish the face, I added a yellow-green for the lower part to copy the look of Snapdragon. I also added that yellow-green in the spikes on its face, then spikes around its stem. After the base colors, I draw the shadow around its face, giving it a 3D look and emphasizing the texture on its face, like the curves. I also draw the same shadow for the stem, then proceed to use yellow for the spots around the face and adjust it into yellow-green. I draw the same spot and adjust the color again into darker to blend with the skin. To add the reflective lights, I used yellow and draw it around its stem, face, and also the spikes. Then adjust the color. Since the face still has missing reflective lights, I draw those same reflective lights under the mouth. For the highlights, I add the highlights on the spikes, making the texture stand out. To finish the face, I used white to fill the teeth. and used lighter green for the eyes. We can't also forget to add the shadow in its eyes, then use the red for the pupils. I changed the teeth color into lighter green and also added the shadow. For the spots, I changed it into the same color so it blends with the skin. And there you have it, Snapdragon. The look of PVZ1 Snapdragon was really different from PVZ2, especially the art style and form of the plant. You can first notice the PVZ1 Snapdragon has a rougher texture and shading fitting the vibe of PVZ1. And can we talk about the meaner expression? The expression looks really good compared to the nonchalant expression of PVZ2. I really like how the details turned out, and the darker colors fits well with its fiery look. Overall, I rate it 9 out of 10. The art style of it and other details such as the leaves and texture really looks that older PVZ concept that it wasn't clean or shiny look. For our last plant, Electric Pea, I used the same reference from the first plant. Since we will be doing a peashooter, of course I outlined the peashooter's body, just like I did for Fire Pea. After that, I added an electric pea for my color reference, then removed the leaf on top of its head. Since electric pea have that lightning look on top, I also draw that to include in the body. Then, I adjust the outline for the other leaves, making it sharper. I started to color its whole body using mint green, then I carefully draw the gradient white in the middle part of its head to have that electric look, then I filled the inside of its mouth a white base. I changed the lower body and leaves into green, then draw some shadows around it. I also draw that same shadow for the stem. Since we're adding shadow, I also added some shadow around its head for the mouth, and we can't forget the lightning. After that shadow, I render it slightly, then proceed to add the electric details for the face. Moving on, I draw the highlights in the stem and for the leaves. I also added a lighter highlights between each plant to emphasize its texture and shape. Back to the face, I draw a shadow for the mouth to give it some depth. Then, I change the outline color for the lower body and also the head. I finish it off by adding the glowing effect in its head. And there you have it, Electric Pea. Looking at the Electric Pea into different version, you can clearly see the difference between the two. Firstly, the form or how Electric Pea stand was different from PVZ2, also how huge and glowing the head was. But I really like how the PVZ1 turned out. The peashooter itself looks like it came from PVZ1. The color itself is flat, compared to the other one, and it doesn't have enough details, fitting the PVZ1 art style. Overall, I rate it 10 out of 10. I love how it turned out, the hardness of outline, and its form really looks like from PVZ1. I love how accurate it is, especially that it looks flat due to its look, but still has some depth. That is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. See ya.